Let's now move on to textual analysis as proposed by Annabella Carvalho. In this module, I'll talk about the half of this textual analysis, the half components of this textual analysis, and in the following module, I'll talk about the remaining ones. According to Carvalho, it is very important to know the various structural dimensions of a text because these dimensions can have a strong bearing on the meaning and they have a key role in making us understand what that text is about. And if we miss the structural making of a text, this may be problematic for the overall understanding of that text. In this regard, the first important element which we need to understand is the layout and structural organization because structural organization plays a key role, as I said earlier, in the overall interpretation of the text. Structural organization may involve certain surface elements, for example, at which page that text appears or article appears, or if it's a news report, news appears. If it appears on the front page, this may have a different and important implication and representation. But if it appears on something on a page which is in somewhere in the middle of the newspaper, that probably would have a different interpretation. So all pages have their own social importance in terms of media reading or newspaper reading. Usually the first page and the last page which can get a reader's instant attention when they pick up a newspaper have more importance because they are on the both sides of the newspaper and a reader can have a look at them without even opening newspaper in a detailed manner. Therefore, reporting on these pages usually considered to be important, especially if we look at it from Pakistani perspective. Then, in addition to page numbers, the section in which that news or article appears, size of the news or article, what kind of volume has been associated, if it's a lengthy news item or it has been summarized in few lines, that would also have a bearing on the meaning. Then the visual elements, the photographs or some kind of graphics or other graphs, etc., which has been associated with that news could also have very strong meaning. The headline of a news item is also very important because this shows, in many cases, the editorial policy of a newspaper also, and this may also reflect on various factors which are behind that news. So it marks the preferred reading of the whole article and should therefore be carefully examined. And there have been many researchers in critical discourse analysis field which look uh, into the making of headlines, and sometimes we find very interesting findings about the interpretation or analysis of these headlines. Then the lead and the first few paragraphs of an article and a news reporting can also be very useful in understanding the meaning. Then objects. What or which objects does the text construct? These objects are a concept very similar to themes or topics in general reading. But in critical discourse analysis or media discourse analysis, according to Annabella Carvalho, these objects can be a slightly broader and deeper concept than themes or topics because these objects can include not only what a certain text refers to, but also what it constitutes, what is it made of. So probably would give us a chance to have a deep look on the things which are being reported or talked about in a text. Objects of discourse are not always obvious. Sometimes we have to make a deep analysis in order to find them and understand them. So they're not on the surface all the time. So we have to look into the hidden meaning of the text in order to find these objects. Clearly identifying them can be an important task for a critical discourse analyst. For example, in case of a climate change discourse, we can see that there could be some important topics or objects like government and its policy, uh, and then its impact on environment, and then on change of nature, economics, etc., etc. But there could be a specific object, maybe focusing on the effect of climate change on agriculture or various patterns of agriculture. So we need to just look into the both broader and specific objects of a text, and which is very important area of investigation in critical discourse analysis. That is something which can lead us to find the ideological standpoints of a text also. Then actors are very important. They play a major role in the meaning making process. In order to find actors in a text, you probably would find these questions helpful. What does the article mention? Who does the article mention? And how are those actors represented? So, what kind of people or other actors are involved in a text? That's the important concern, because the involvements of the text of the actors can be an important factor in framing an issue. What kind of actors are involved in describing, in interpreting a text, in making a text, can have a strong impact on the meaning intended to be generated through that text or discourse. Individuals or institutions both can be an actors, and these actors can be simple characters who are being mentioned in the text, or they could be social agents who are acting something, actually performing something, and working as some kind of agencies who have the will to perform something. These can be subjects doing something, in other words, or can be objects who are being talked about and do not perform anything significant in the text. So, but both uh, can be can be powerful in making meaning, because sometimes writers may intentionally make a certain agent or actor as something who's doing something, and they can deliberately make something as objects not doing something, or receiving something passively, and this can be intended based on certain intention to create a certain meaning. As we can say that that agency is being associated with certain people deliberately. Whose perspective seems to dominate in the text is another element which needs to be looked into from the perspective of actors. So actors have that framing power. By framing power, we can see the capacity of one actor to convey his or her views or positions through the media, by sometimes influencing the policy of the media, by sometimes making use of one's popular image. People can do that, but actors, since they have framing powers, needs to be interpreted in order to find the real meaning of a text.